The massive chamber of the United Earth Council fell silent as the alien delegation materialized on the central platform. Their environmental suits gleamed under the bright lights, casting rainbow reflections across the polished marble floor. The sight was both beautiful and intimidating, exactly the impression the Galactic Coalition wanted to make on their first official visit to Earth. Ambassador Kresh towered over the human representatives, his iridescent scales shifting colors with each movement. His multiple eye stalks swiveled independently, taking in every detail of the chamber and its occupants with barely concealed disdain. The ambassador's translator device hummed softly as he addressed the assembly. Captain Harim Park watched from her seat among the military advisors, keeping her expression neutral despite the growing anger in her chest. She had spent 15 years in Earth's Space Force, commanding vessels that these aliens now mocked openly. Her hands remained folded calmly in her lap, but her knuckles were white with tension. "Your attempts at space travel are quaint," Kresh announced, his translated voice carrying a distinct note of amusement. "We have been observing your development for some time now. Your nuclear fusion drives are inefficient. Your weapons systems are primitive. Your ships move through space like children's toys." Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Park noticed General Thompson's face reddening with each word, but he maintained his composure. They had all been briefed extensively on the importance of this first contact meeting. "Perhaps," Kresh continued, his eye stalks swiveling to focus on different sections of the audience, "in a few centuries, you will be ready to join civilized spacefaring races. Your species barely has functional ion drives. The fact that you consider these achievements is entertaining." Park's jaw clenched as laughter rippled through the alien delegation. Their massive forms shook with amusement, environmental suits gleaming as they shared their species' equivalent of knowing looks. The human representatives remained silent, years of diplomatic training being put to the ultimate test. The meeting continued for several hours as the coalition outlined their expectations for Earth's supervised development. They spoke of trade restrictions, technology embargoes, and protective oversight of human space activities. With each new demand, Park felt her anger being replaced by something else: determination. What the coalition didn't know, what only a handful of humans knew, was that their assumptions were fatally flawed. Deep beneath the Korean peninsula, in a facility that officially didn't exist, humanity's real space program was about to change everything. The next morning, Park's security clearance granted her access to the underground complex designated as Project Phantom. The elevator descended for nearly 5 minutes before reaching the massive cavern that housed humanity's secret weapon. As the doors opened, she smiled at the familiar sight of controlled chaos. Hundreds of scientists and engineers working on what appeared to be empty space. Dr. Lee Sun-ho hurried to meet her, his excitement visible despite his exhaustion. "Captain Park, the latest tests exceeded all expectations. The metamaterial coating is achieving perfect light absorption and deflection. When powered, the ship simply disappears from every detection method we've tried." Park followed him through the bustling facility, nodding to crew members she recognized. The project had been her life for the past 3 years, ever since Earth's long-range sensors first detected the approaching coalition fleet. While the world's governments publicly focused on conventional space technology, Project Phantom had pursued a different path. Chief Engineer Kim Do-young joined them at the main observation platform. "The Nexus drive is stable now," he reported, pointing to holographic displays showing energy readings that would have made the coalition representatives choke on their own arrogance. "We've achieved complete sensor invisibility across all known detection spectrums." Park stared at the seemingly empty dock before them. To untrained eyes, it looked like a colossal waste of space, but she knew better. She had walked the corridors of the vessel that stood there, invisible even to human eyes when its systems were active. The ship represented humanity's greatest achievement, and their best hope for maintaining independence. "How long until we can demonstrate full combat readiness?" she asked, already thinking ahead to the inevitable confrontation that was coming. 2 weeks, Kim replied confidently. We've solved the last issues with the weapon systems. The ship can now fire without compromising its stealth field. Park nodded, remembering the Coalition ambassador's mocking laughter. In less than a month, that laughter would turn to confusion, then fear. Humanity was far more advanced than they had let their visitors believe. The question now was not if they would prove it, but when. "Begin final crew selection," she ordered. "I want our best people trained and ready. The Coalition won't give us much time once they move from condescension to demands." Both men nodded, understanding the weight of their responsibility. As she left the facility that evening, Park thought about the coming weeks. The Coalition believed they were dealing with a primitive species barely capable of reaching their own moon. Their arrogance would be their undoing. Humanity had learned long ago that appearing weak while secretly being strong was the best way to survive. Now that lesson would serve them well among the stars. The invisible warship waiting in its underground berth would show the galaxy that humans were far more than they appeared, and Captain Hiram Park would be there to see the look on Ambassador Kresh's face when he realized just how wrong he had been about Earth's capabilities. Dr. Lee Sunho wiped sweat from his forehead as he examined the latest test results on his holographic display. The underground facility hummed with activity even at this late hour, the sound of machinery and voices echoing off the vast cavern walls. 3 kilometers beneath the Korean peninsula, Project Phantom continued its relentless march toward completion. The experimental warship dominated the enormous underground dock, its dark hull seeming to swallow light rather than reflect it. Even powered down, the revolutionary metamaterials coating its surface created strange visual effects, making parts of the ship appear to bend or fade from certain angles. It was beautiful in an unsettling way, exactly as intended. Workers in protective suits moved across the ship's surface, applying the final layers of the metamaterial coating. Each sheet cost more than a typical fighter jet, but the results were worth every penny. When activated, the coating bent light and energy around the ship's hull, making it completely invisible to both eyes and sensors. Dr. Lee checked another reading and smiled. The power distribution tests were showing perfect results. 3 years of work were finally coming together. The Coalition's mockery of Earth's technology would soon turn to fear, though they didn't know it yet. Captain Park's arrival interrupted his thoughts. She strode through the facility with purpose, Chief Engineer Kim Do-young struggling to keep up with her pace. The captain had been even more driven since the Coalition's insulting first contact meeting 2 weeks ago. "Doctor, how are the final calibrations proceeding?" Park asked, stopping at his workstation. "Better than expected," Lee replied, pulling up more detailed readings. "The metamaterial coating is achieving 99.98% energy deflection. Even at full power, the ship's energy signature will be indistinguishable from background radiation." Kim nodded enthusiastically. "The Nexus drive integration is complete as well. We've achieved stable power flow through all systems. When activated, this ship will be completely invisible to every known form of detection." Park studied the readings carefully. She had been involved with Project Phantom since its beginning, but seeing the final results still amazed her. The ship before them represented humanity's greatest technological achievement, the perfect combination of stealth and power. "Show me the weapons tests," she ordered, moving to a different display. Lee brought up the combat simulation data. "We've solved the phase matching problem. The ship can now fire its main weapons without creating detectable energy spikes. The metamaterial coating automatically adjusts to compensate for weapons discharge." "Even better," Kim added, "we've developed a new targeting system that uses the same principles as the stealth technology. Our weapons can track targets that are trying to use similar cloaking systems. Not that the Coalition has anything close to this level of stealth capability." Park watched the simulation showing their ship easily detecting and destroying a cloaked target. The Coalition believed Earth was barely capable of basic spaceflight. They had no idea that humans had been preparing for their arrival for years, developing technologies that surpassed anything the aliens had shown. "Begin final crew integration training," Park ordered. I want everyone familiar with these systems before we go operational. The Coalition won't wait forever to make their move." Both men nodded, understanding the urgency. Earth's observers had noted increasing Coalition fleet movements in the outer solar system. Their diplomatic mission was clearly just the first step toward attempted dominance of Earth. Workers continued their tasks around them as the three discussed final preparations. The massive ship's hull seemed to ripple in the harsh lighting, its surface already beginning to bend reality around it. Soon it would bend much more than light. It would bend the balance of power in the galaxy. "There's one more thing you should see," Lee said, leading them to a secure testing chamber. Inside, a small cube of the metamaterial floated in midair, completely invisible except for a slight distortion effect. "We've perfected the active camouflage. When powered, the ship won't just be invisible to sensors. It will be truly invisible to the naked eye." Park reached out toward the cube, her hand passing through empty space until she felt its solid surface. The sensation was disconcerting. Touching something her eyes insisted wasn't there. This was the technology that would save Earth from Coalition control. "How long until we can begin space trials?" she asked. 3 days, Kim replied confidently. "All critical systems are ready. We just need to complete the final safety checks." Park nodded, already planning the upcoming mission in her mind. Soon, very soon, the Coalition would learn that their assessment of human capabilities had been dangerously wrong. The invisible warship taking shape before them would teach them that lesson in a way they would never forget. "Excellent work, both of you," she said. "Earth is counting on us, even if most of them don't know it yet. Let's make sure we're ready when the time comes." As she left the testing chamber, Park looked back at the massive ship one last time. Soon it would slip its underground berth and take to the stars, carrying humanity's hopes with it. The Coalition's laughter would turn to shock when they realized what humans were truly capable of. That moment couldn't come soon enough. The skies above Earth's major cities darkened as massive Coalition warships took position, their hulls blocking out the sun like artificial eclipses. In Seoul, Military Commander Song Ga stood at the command center's window, watching the enormous vessel hovering above her city. Its shadow cast most of downtown into an unnatural twilight. Multiple Coalition ships detected entering low Earth orbit. The sensor operator reported, his voice steady despite the tension. "They're positioning themselves above every major population center. New York, London, Tokyo, Beijing, Moscow, all reporting similar situations." Ja's expression remained carefully neutral as she studied the alien vessel. Its size alone was meant to intimidate. Nearly 3 kilometers of gleaming metal and visible weapon emplacements. The Coalition had finally decided to show their true intentions, just as Earth's intelligence had predicted. The emergency broadcast signal blared across all communication channels. Ambassador Kresh's scaled face appeared on every screen, his multiple eye stalks moving with what J.A. now recognized as smug satisfaction. "People of Earth," the alien diplomat began, his translator conveying false warmth, "the time has come for your world to accept its proper place in the galactic community. The Coalition can no longer allow your uncontrolled development to continue." G.A.'s hands tightened behind her back as she listened. 3 months of condescending diplomatic relations had led to this moment. The Coalition had never intended peaceful coexistence. They wanted control. "Our ships now maintain protective positions above your major population centers," Kresh continued. "This is not meant as a threat, merely a demonstration of our commitment to guiding your species toward proper development." The lie was so obvious it would have been amusing under different circumstances. Coalition warships had taken positions that would allow them to destroy Earth's largest cities within minutes. The message was clear: submit or die. "You have 24 hours to accept Coalition authority," Kresh announced, his eye stalks focusing directly on the camera. "Your planetary government will be replaced by Coalition administrators. Your military forces will be disbanded. Your space program will be suspended until you are deemed ready for supervised expansion. Resistance would be unfortunate." The transmission ended, leaving screens filled with static. GA turned to her staff, noting their controlled anger. They had trained for this moment, prepared for it, but the reality was still infuriating. "Status of Project Phantom?" she asked calmly. Her communications officer checked his secured terminal. "Captain Park reports all systems ready. The ship is prepared for launch on your command." GA nodded, allowing herself a small smile. The Coalition's arrogance had worked in Earth's favor, making them blind to humanity's true capabilities. Their sensors were focused on known military installations, monitoring outdated weapons and conventional forces. They had no idea what waited beneath their feet. "Send the coded alert to all commands," she ordered. "Initiate Protocol Shadow. Tell Captain Park she has authorization to proceed when ready." The command center burst into controlled activity as orders were relayed and systems activated. On the surface, Earth's military appeared to be scrambling in panic, exactly what the Coalition expected to see. GA's secure communicator chimed. "Commander, the United Earth Council is convening an emergency session. They're requesting your presence." "Tell them I'm on my way," she replied, gathering her documents. The next few hours would require careful coordination. The Coalition needed to believe their ultimatum was working, that humanity was fracturing under pressure. As she left the command center, GA took one last look at the Coalition warship looming above Seoul. Its weapons were clearly visible, a deliberate choice meant to inspire fear. The aliens believed their superior technology made them invincible. In 24 hours, that belief would be shattered. Humanity's invisible warship would teach them the danger of underestimating Earth. The Coalition thought they were dealing with a primitive species barely capable of spaceflight. Their mistake would cost them dearly. GA's driver waited with an armored vehicle. As they drove toward the council chambers, she reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Coalition ships were maintaining their threatening positions, their crews likely celebrating what they saw as an easy victory. Let them celebrate, she thought. Let them believe their ultimatum had worked. In less than a day, Project Phantom would show them exactly how wrong they were about humanity's capabilities. The Coalition's laughter would turn to screams when they realized what humanity had hidden from them. The sun was setting as they reached the council building, casting long shadows that mirrored the artificial darkness created by the alien ships. GA straightened her uniform and prepared herself for the coming performance. The council session would be monitored by Coalition observers. They needed to see exactly what they expected: fear, argument, and submission. Meanwhile, deep beneath the Korean peninsula, humanity's secret weapon waited. Captain Park and her crew would launch when the Coalition least expected it, turning the alien show of force into a demonstration of their own vulnerabilities. 24 hours, GA thought as she entered the council chambers. In 24 hours, the Coalition would learn that their ultimatum had been a terrible mistake. Humanity was far more than they appeared to be, and the time had come to prove it. The underground launch bay hummed with controlled energy as the KSS Silent Dawn prepared for its first combat mission. Captain Park walked through the final pre-launch checks, watching her hand-picked crew work with quiet efficiency. 20 hours had passed since the Coalition's ultimatum. In 4 more, they would show the aliens exactly what humanity was capable of. All systems show green, Lieutenant Choi Eun-woo reported from the weapons station. Her fingers moved steadily across the controls, bringing the ship's advanced weapons online. Plasma cannons charged and ready, stealth systems functioning at optimal levels. Navigator Yoon Ta-sung looked up from his station. Course plotted for initial strike. Will emerge 2 kilometers above the facility, completely masked by the metamaterial field. The Coalition ship above Beijing will never know we're there. Park settled into her command chair, feeling the ship's power thrumming through the deck. The Silent Dawn represented humanity's greatest achievement, a warship that could move unseen through space, striking without warning. Now it was time to put theory into practice. "Begin launch sequence," she ordered. "Maintain full stealth protocols from the moment we clear the bay." The massive underground doors slid open above them, revealing a vertical shaft that led to the surface. The Silent Dawn rose silently, its revolutionary drive system making no sound as it lifted the ship. As they ascended, Park watched the hull shimmer and fade until it was completely invisible, even from within. "Stealth field stable," Chief Engineer Kim reported. "We're completely invisible to all known detection methods. Even our energy signature is masked." The ship emerged into the night sky, rising past the sleeping city of Seoul. Above them, a coalition warship hung like a malevolent star, its crew unaware of the invisible predator passing beneath them. Park allowed herself a small smile. The aliens' arrogance had made them careless. "Set course for Beijing," she commanded. "Maximum speed. Let's show them what real space technology looks like." The Silent Dawn accelerated smoothly, crossing the distance to Beijing in minutes. Their speed would have shocked the coalition, who believed humans were limited to simple ion drives. The ship's Nexus drive was generations ahead of anything the aliens had shown. "Target in visual range," Choi announced, bringing up a magnified view of the coalition vessel. It floated arrogantly above Beijing, weapons pointed downward at the city. Targeting their command section. Plasma cannons locked. "Take us into position," Park ordered. "Remember your training. We hit hard and fast. Then move before they can react." The Silent Dawn glided into attack position, completely undetected by the coalition's advanced sensors. Park watched the alien ship growing larger on their screens, its crew likely still celebrating their assumed victory over Earth. "In range," Choi reported quietly. "Weapons solution confirmed. Ready to fire on your command." Park took a deep breath. This moment would change everything. There would be no going back once they revealed themselves. Fire. Brilliant plasma bolts erupted from the invisible ship, crossing the space between vessels in milliseconds. They struck the coalition warship's command section with surgical precision, burning through its supposedly superior shields like paper. The alien vessel's lights flickered and died as its command center was severed from the rest of the ship. Secondary explosions rippled along its length as systems failed catastrophically. No distress signal was sent. They never had time to realize they were under attack. "Direct hits confirmed," Choi announced, pride evident in her voice. "Target's command systems completely disabled. Their weapons and engines are offline." "Multiple coalition ships breaking orbit," Yoon reported. "They're moving to investigate, but their sensors can't detect us. They have no idea what hit their ally." Park nodded, watching the confusion spread through the coalition fleet. "Set course for our next target. Let's give them more to think about." The Silent Dawn moved away unseen as rescue ships rushed to aid their stricken companion. Coalition communications filled with panic and confusion as they tried to understand what had happened. Their sensors showed nothing. No weapons signature, no engine trails, nothing to explain how one of their mighty warships had been crippled so easily. "New course plotted," Yoon announced. "Ready to proceed to secondary targets." "Enemy ships are implementing random evasive patterns," Choi added. "They're firing blindly into space, hoping to hit something they can't see." Park watched the coalition's desperate attempts to find them with satisfaction. The aliens' confidence was shattered, replaced by fear of an enemy they couldn't detect or fight. This was just the beginning. "Take us in," she ordered. "Let's show them that the first strike wasn't a fluke. Humanity is done being underestimated." The Silent Dawn moved through space like a ghost, preparing to strike again. Above Earth's cities, coalition ships began to retreat to higher orbits, suddenly unsure of their superiority. Their ultimatum had backfired spectacularly, teaching them a lesson they wouldn't soon forget. Earth's invisible defender continued its mission, bringing humanity's response to those who had threatened their world. The time for hiding their true capabilities was over. Now it was time to show the galaxy exactly what humans could do. Earth's first stealth fleet assembled in high orbit, their hulls shimmering with the same metamaterial coating that made the Silent Dawn invisible. Captain Park stood on her bridge, watching as more ships joined the formation. Each vessel represented weeks of around-the-clock work, retrofitting Earth's conventional warships with humanity's most advanced technology. "All ships report ready," Lieutenant Choi announced from her station. "The stealth systems are functioning perfectly across the fleet." Admiral Ba Hyun-sik's hologram appeared on the bridge, his expression determined. "Coalition reinforcements have been detected entering the solar system. They've assembled the largest fleet we've ever seen." "Let them come," Park replied, checking the tactical display. 20 Earth ships now carried the same stealth technology as the Silent Dawn. The Coalition was about to learn that their numbers meant nothing against an enemy they couldn't detect. The alien armada appeared near Jupiter's orbit, hundreds of ships strong. Their massive vessels moved with obvious confidence, believing their overwhelming force would overcome whatever technology had defeated their first fleet. Coalition ships advancing in attack formation, Navigator Yoon reported. "They're launching scout vessels to sweep for our position." Park nodded. "Deploy the fleet in attack pattern shadow. Let them search empty space while we move into position." Earth's invisible ships spread out, taking planned positions around the approaching Coalition force. The alien vessel's sensors swept uselessly through the void, finding no trace of their opponents. "Enemy fleet approaching Luna," Choi announced. "Their weapons are charged and ready. They still haven't detected us." Admiral Ba's voice came through the command channel. "All ships, prepare to engage. Remember your training. Strike fast and coordinate your attacks. Show them what humanity can do." The Coalition fleet moved past Luna, their massive ships casting long shadows on the moon's surface. They had no idea they were already surrounded by invisible predators, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "All ships in position," Yoon confirmed. "Ready on your command." Park took a deep breath, knowing this battle would decide Earth's future. "Begin the attack. Target their command ships first." 20 invisible vessels struck simultaneously. Plasma bolts seemed to appear from nowhere, striking the Coalition's flagship from multiple angles. The massive alien vessel's shields collapsed under the coordinated assault. "Direct hits confirmed," Choi reported excitedly. "Enemy flagship is disabled. Coalition fleet is responding, but they're firing blindly." The space around Luna lit up with Coalition weapons fire as they tried desperately to hit targets they couldn't see. Their superior numbers meant nothing. Their advanced sensors were useless. Their mighty weapons couldn't lock onto enemies that didn't appear to exist. "Second wave, engage," Admiral Bai ordered. More Coalition ships went dark as Earth's fleet struck again and again, invisible weapons tearing through alien defenses. The Coalition tried to reorganize, forming defensive spheres with their remaining ships. But Earth's vessels simply waited for gaps to appear, then struck with precise attacks that left more alien ships powerless. "Enemy fleet attempting to retreat," Yoon announced. "They're breaking formation." Park watched as the mighty Coalition armada began to fracture. Ships that had arrived expecting an easy victory now fled in panic, unable to fight an enemy they couldn't detect or defend against. "Push them back," Admiral Ba commanded. "Don't let them regroup. Show them that humanity is not to be trifled with." The Silent Dawn led the pursuit, its more experienced crew coordinating the attack. Coalition ships fell one after another, their crews abandoning their vessels as Earth's weapons found their targets. "Enemy fleet in full retreat," Choi reported with satisfaction. "They're abandoning their disabled ships." Picking up multiple surrender signals, the space near Luna was filled with drifting Coalition vessels, their mighty weapons now useless. Earth's invisible fleet had achieved what the aliens had thought impossible: complete victory against a numerically superior force. "All ships, hold position," Admiral Bai ordered. "Let them run. They'll carry word of our capabilities back to their leadership." Park stood on her bridge, watching the remaining Coalition ships flee toward the outer system. Humanity had proven itself more than capable of defending its territory. The galaxy would never again mistake technological discretion for weakness. "Send recovery teams to the disabled coalition ships," she ordered. "Their crews will need assistance, and their technology might prove useful for study." The battle had lasted less than an hour. Earth's greatest victory had been achieved without losing a single ship or crew member. The Coalition's pride had been broken by an enemy they never saw coming. As the adrenaline of combat faded, Park allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had kept its greatest advances secret, waiting for the right moment to reveal their true capabilities. That patience had paid off in the most dramatic way possible. The Silent Dawn and its sister ships maintained their invisible vigil as rescue operations began. They had changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever, proving that humanity was ready for its place among the stars. The Martian orbital station hung against the red planet's backdrop, its neutral territory chosen carefully for the historic peace conference. Through the station's massive viewport, the Silent Dawn floated invisible, except for a slight distortion in the stars behind it, a deliberate display of power that the Coalition delegates couldn't ignore. Captain Park sat at the conference table, her posture relaxed but alert. Across from her, Ambassador Kresh seemed significantly less impressive than during their first meeting. His eye stalks drooped in submission, his once gleaming scales now dulled with stress. "The Coalition has reviewed the events of the past month," Kresh began, his translator conveying uncharacteristic humility. "We acknowledge that serious mistakes were made in our assessment of human capabilities." Park kept her expression neutral, though inside she felt satisfaction at the complete reversal of their previous positions. The conference room was filled with representatives from both sides, but all eyes focused on this exchange. "We may have underestimated your species," Kresh continued, his eye stalks lowered in respect. "Our assumptions about your technological development were flawed." "A common mistake," Park replied coolly, allowing herself a small smile. "One that usually happens only once." The negotiations proceeded for several hours. The Coalition's demands for Earth's submission were replaced by offers of trade and technological exchange. Their threats of oversight became proposals for mutual cooperation. The stealth technology, one of Kresh's advisors ventured carefully. Would Earth be willing to share its development? "That would depend," Park answered, "on the Coalition's willingness to treat Earth as a true equal in galactic affairs. We've proven we can defend ourselves. Now we're interested in peaceful cooperation, but only as full partners." The resulting treaty took shape over several days. Earth would be recognized as a major power in galactic politics, with all the rights and responsibilities that entailed. The Coalition would withdraw its military forces from the solar system, maintaining only diplomatic presence approved by Earth's government. During breaks in the negotiations, Park often stood at the viewport, watching her invisible ship patrol the space around the station. The Silent Dawn had become more than just a warship. It was a symbol of humanity's potential, a reminder that appearances could be deceiving. "Your strategy was brilliant," Kresh admitted privately during one such break, "allowing us to believe you were primitive while developing such advanced technology. How long had you been preparing?" "Long enough," Park replied. "We learned early that sometimes the best defense is letting others underestimate you." The Silent Dawn was just the culmination of years of careful planning. The final treaty signing was broadcast across Earth and to Coalition worlds. Humans celebrated in the streets as the news spread. Their planet had not only survived its first major interstellar crisis, but had emerged stronger than ever. As the Coalition delegation prepared to depart, Kresh approached Park one last time. "There will be those who resist this new arrangement," he warned. "Some will not easily accept humans as equals." "Then they'll learn the same lesson you did," Park responded calmly. "Earth doesn't seek conflict, but we'll always be ready to defend ourselves. The Silent Dawn and her sister ships will make sure of that." Years later, in her memoirs, Park reflected on those historic days. "They laughed at our primitive technology," she wrote. "We smiled and let them laugh." Sometimes the best victory is the one your enemy never sees coming. The Silent Dawn became a legend in human space, Its name synonymous with the ingenuity and determination that had earned humanity its place among the stars. Future generations of Earth ships would carry the same stealth technology, a constant reminder that underestimating humans was a dangerous mistake. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Earth's apparent technological backwardness had been a carefully crafted illusion, hiding capabilities that surpassed even the Coalition's understanding. Through patience, innovation, and strategic thinking, humanity had transformed from a supposedly primitive species into a respected power in galactic politics. As Park concluded in her final captain's log, "We never needed to prove our superiority. We just needed to show that we deserved respect." The Silent Dawn didn't just win a battle. It changed the way the galaxy sees humanity. And that was the greatest victory of all. The peace conference ended with a new era beginning. Earth had found its place among the stars, not through conquest or intimidation, but through the clever use of hidden strength. The Silent Dawn's legacy would ensure that humanity's voice would always be heard in galactic affairs.